Tucking away a long strand of hair that floated in front of my scuba mask, I kicked through the blue-green waters of Bimini on the last day of my research term, keeping watch for Sylvia, a 5-foot, 4-year-old lemon shark I'd named for oceanographer Sylvia Earle. The shards of sunlight that pierced the water earlier had started to wane, leaving the surface brushed with shadows, and I glanced nervously at Nicholas, my dive partner, then checked my watch. We should have seen her by now. Just beyond her juvenile years, Sylvia had begun venturing outside the protective nursery mangroves where she was born, a habit that worried me, but one I also admired. Back on the small island off southwest Florida where I lived and worked as a marine scientist, they called me Maeve, the shark whisperer. It implied I could somehow get close to these apex predators, even tame them, which was, of course, a fatal kind of lunacy. The nickname had caught on even here at the Marine Field Lab in Bimini, where I'd spent the last 6 months tagging lemon sharks with passive integrated transponders, then tracking, collecting DNA on, photographing, and cataloging them morning, noon, and night. I'd monitored close to 100 of them, but Sylvia was the one I'd grown fond of. She had a funny habit of scooping up small bits of fish left behind after she'd bitten and gulped them down, as if she couldn't stand for anything to go to waste. Her frugality not only amused me, it endeared her to me. I liked the way she rested on the bottom after the other lemons swam off, claiming a little extra lounge time for herself. Lazy girl. I could usually identify her before I found the scar on her second dorsal, shaped like an upside-down check mark. She had often swum closer to me than was comfortable, though I knew that theoretically lemons were generally non-aggressive, and it was probably my imagination and not my science that gave me the odd feeling she recognized me as well. "You two are simpatico," Nicholas had once remarked. He was only half joking. It was June 12th, 2006, my 30th birthday. I should have been back in my small room packing, or cooking one of those god-awful cake mixes in the communal kitchen to pass around to the other scientists after dinner, to at least acknowledge the occasion. But I hadn't wanted to leave Bimini without a farewell dive. Tomorrow morning, Nicholas and I would be on a short, chartered flight to Miami. From there, he would head to Sarasota and his stingrays. Originally from Twickenham, England, he'd come to the United States as a student 15 years ago and, after a stint in London, ended up in Sarasota at the prestigious Southwest Florida Aquarium. He'd recently become their youngest director of ray research at 35. He'd been here at the field lab for a 10-month sabbatical, longer than any of us. I could only imagine how eager the aquarium would be to have him back. Me, I would go back to the Gulf Marine Conservancy on Palermo and to my grandmother Perry's hotel, perched beside the Gulf of Mexico. The Hotel of the Muses, where I'd grown up and where I still lived, was not your typical hotel on Palermo. While the rest of them were predictably nautical, seascapes over the beds, captain's wheels in the restaurants, aquariums in the lobbies, my grandmother's highbrow resort was overrun with books. Her hotel held readings and book talks in the lobby and had its own lending library system with a trolley that went room to room along with the housekeeping cart. Every one of the 82 rooms was dedicated to an author whose work Perry admired: Charlotte Bronte, Jane Austen, Gwendolyn Brooks, Octavio Paz, Edna St. Vincent Millay, Henry David Thoreau. The Tampa Bay Times had called it the real buried treasure on the Gulf Coast, a library hotel on ecstasy. By summer's end, I would leave all that ecstasy once again for whale shark research in Mozambique. Whenever my research terms ended, everything I'd put aside and ignored, especially Daniel, inevitably returned, rushing in like tidewater to retake the shore. Already I could feel the past washing up, the last stubborn image of Daniel the day we'd said goodbye, his back framed by the glare of Miami sun on the window, and then all the silence that followed. The memory returned more mercilessly this time. 30. What was it about that age? All the clocks ticked louder. Swimming farther from the cobalt blue bottom of our boat, Nicholas and I came upon a shower of tiny silver minnows glinting like nickels as they darted in unison. Earlier, a red-mouthed grouper had found Nicholas and me to be objects of fascination, drawn by the bubbles drifting from our tanks, coming so close I could see the inside of its mouth glowing orange. Among fish, as among humans, there seemed to be two basic schools, the venturesome and the cautious. Nicholas pointed to a pair of southern stingrays sailing by like a scene from Swan Lake. The vibration of their wings rushed toward me, reverberating the way all sounds did beneath the sea, blurred and muffled, a strange, slow-motion percussion. Nicholas felt about rays, especially spotted eagle and giant mantas, the way I felt about sharks, and he snapped a picture just before they vanished. Holding up his palm, he motioned for me to stop, and I thought for a moment he'd spotted the lemons, but he shook his head and shrugged, a signal for, "The sharks aren't coming, our air is running out." After working together the last 6 months, we'd become adept at one another's body cues. I cocked my head to the side and held up 5 fingers. Another few minutes? He gave me a thumbs up and pointed to a crop of sea fans on the ocean floor. "Okay, but let's hang here." I nodded. I was going to miss him, and that was a surprise. It was always a surprise to miss someone other than Daniel. As I drifted over the waving garden of fuchsia and pink fans, I watched a green moray eel partially lured out of its rocky home, while a diligent cleaner shrimp worked its magic on the eel's head. The eel looked ancient, wrinkled, scarred, and oddly serene. It was possible the two of us were the same age. Its mouth gaped open, then closed, over and over. Ohms only the sea creatures could hear.